You're on Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, here it is, September 4th, 2021, and we are going to have a great program tonight. You want to stay with us. We're going to bring you right up to speed on what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, don't you guys just love it? Don't you love it when it's a busy week of news for the Watchtower? We bring you the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. It's all the critical news in the Watchtower. But we talk about it here every Saturday night. We've been doing it for 16 years. We've never missed a Saturday night. And you know why? We are here because you are here. This is like a giant therapy session. In fact, some have said it's the biggest therapy session on the internet for ex-witnesses. So I'm glad you're in with us. And my name's Rick Ferrin, and I'm coming to you from the epicenter of apostasy. Well, we call it the capital of apostasy, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I'll tell you what, we are gaining so many new listeners and people listening into our programs. It's just totally amazing. So we want to thank all you new folks listening in, and don't go running off. If you're a Jehovah's Witness listening in here tonight and you're starting to wiggle your way loose, don't run away. Listen to what we have to say. Do your research. Do your research, and you'll find everything we say here tonight is right on the ball. Oh, my goodness, friends, I tell you, I searched the internet all week long, and I just can't keep up with it. I'm going to have to hire somebody here or do something to help me with the news. I can't keep up with it. There's so many things that are happening behind the curtains. This is an organization in free fall. Do you know what happens when a company goes into free fall? Have you ever thought about it? Right now, the Watchtower organization is in stage 5 of a business collapse. And what do I mean by that? Well, they've already gone through all the first 4 stages. They're in the final stage right now. And what is the final stage of collapse? Well, you can kind of look for little clues on what it might be. What I'm finding is whenever an organization is trying to squeeze everybody for a buck, they're trying to get everything they possibly can out of the pockets of the customers, or in this case, the publishers. They're trying to squeeze them for every penny they have. That is definitely a company in free fall. They're in the last, I say this, they're in the last stage of collapse. And another thing is, when you start getting disagreement, and I can see it. Look, I'm not a mind reader, but I can read body language. I'm not a widget maker. I've been around for a long time. I've been in business, sales, selling products, franchises, a lot of different things. And I can pick up on body language. And when I see JW Broadcasting, and I see those buffoons, the governing body members, and the way they're talking, the way they're acting, I can tell you right now that they're not all in agreement with one another. I know there's total disagreement. Maybe not total disagreement, but there is somewhat of a lot of disagreement. So that also is one of the stages of collapse that they're in. And another thing, when a company's in the stage of collapse, at least the 5th stage, one thing they will do is they're going to really cuddle up to you, your customer, their rank and file. They're going to cuddle up to you. Have you noticed how the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses is cuddling up to you lately? I've noticed it. We love you. I don't know. Sometimes they say it at least twice, sometimes 3 times, maybe more in some of their video programs they're putting forth. They love you. Now, this is really not a good thing. Many witnesses are seeing right through this phony baloney. Does the Watchtower governing body, do they really love you? Come on, let's get real with this. The answer is no. They don't, but they're going to tell you that. They want your money. They don't want you to run. They want you to stay around. They want you to stay with them. And one way to look at, if you're having marital trouble, or maybe you have a relationship and you're breaking up, I mean, what's the first thing you try to do if you want to save it? I love you, honey. Oh, I love you. Oh, well, that's what the governing body's doing. People can see right through it. So, anyways, I don't know if you guys caught it, but there's some big stories going on. Big stories going on in the Watchtower. And we're going to talk about them tonight. At first, we're going to discuss the IICSA. IICSA, well, what is that, you're probably saying? That's the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse in the United Kingdom, or at least in England. And I believe it covers the whole United Kingdom as well. But anyways, they had an investigation. They've been investigating a number of religions, not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but they've been investigating over in the UK for a number of years now, I'd say 2 or 3 years, where they've been investigating sexual child abuse among organizations. Now, the witnesses weren't the only ones they were investigating. This kind of is like deja vu. This brings us back to like the Royal Commission. Well, this is the United Kingdom's, well, carbon copy of it, you could say. So anyways, they were inquiring into many religions, including the Jehovah's Witnesses, for their elders, the way they act toward reporting sexual claims. I'm sure you guys, I know I'm preaching to the choir. I know you've already seen it online. If you're an astute ex-witness, you're one step ahead of us. But I can tell you one thing in this IICSA report. I have to tell you, many active Jehovah's Witnesses are watching. Many active Jehovah's Witnesses are watching. How could they not? It was all over Sky News. Well, that's the equivalent to Fox News in the United Kingdom. And I have to say that it was quite the expose. It was right on the television news. In fact, I'm going to play you a little clip. I want you to see it. If you're on our radio network, you'll be able to hear it. But I want to play it for you and give you a little idea what the people in the United Kingdom saw just a few days ago. I believe it was on Thursday. I believe it was the 30th of August, perhaps 31st, that this hit the news. And many, many witnesses saw it. But I want you to see it. If you missed it, I'll play a little part of it so you can kind of get the gist of what took place. So I'm going to put this on right now. So let's put it up here. Let me get it into large screen. Let me make sure you can see it here on our video suite. All right, let's play a little bit of it. Listen in, and then we can kind of discuss it. So listen in.
Pedophiles, and to learn from mistakes of the past. Emily, who doesn't want to be identified, was sexually abused from the age of 4 by a ministerial servant of the Jehovah's Witnesses in Loughborough. Aged 8, she reported it to church elders, those in charge of governing and disciplining the congregation.
At that point, I had a conversation. I was very young and sort of said, I don't like the way he touches me.
What followed was a series of failings that allowed him to continue sexually abusing children for years to come, which victims say is a larger cultural problem within the organisation.
There was a phrase they used a lot, which is liars will not inherit God's kingdom, which is basically saying you're going to die at Armageddon because you're a liar.
Speaking about Jehovah became a wonderful joy.
Jehovah's Witnesses have a gentle image of those spreading the faith, but believe that only they will be saved from imminent.
See, friends, to catch that, they have a gentle image. It's very hard for people to see how corrupt, how dysfunctional, how deceptive the organization is because they have that gentle image, right? The men dressed up in suits, they polish their shoes, they slick their hair back. The women wear their pretty dresses. It's hard to really look at them as really major deceivers and fraudulent people. But that's the way the world looks at them. Listen a little more. I want you to get the gist of this broadcast in the UK this week.
Armageddon, as depicted here in their literature. There's a mistrust of non-believers, and it's one of the reasons why serious allegations such as child abuse often aren't taken to the police, but instead handled internally.
They had a similar kind of meeting with him about it all, and unbeknownst to me, he actually admitted it to them. And then after that, they continued to tell me that I'd misunderstood it. There was no kind of reprimand for him. I still had to interact with him. I actually got told off for not sitting on his knee.
The abuser, Peter Stewart.
Well, there you go. So you get the gist of it, friends. We've been talking about this. This is nothing new. I'm not reporting anything new to you tonight. I mean, we all know about the sexual child abuse in the Watchtower. But what is new? This is new to many witnesses. You know, it's hitting the news stations. It's in the newspapers. We've been reporting on this for years now. And what can we say? We keep hearing more and more and more of it. It's just a constant, repetitive situation in the Watchtower. But, you know, they knew, I'm going to tell you right now, the Watchtower organization, they knew, I know they did, they knew that this was going to be brought out the end of August, which it was all over the United Kingdom. People saw it. And so they prepared people ahead of time. And I know that the convention they had this summer, you know, Power by Faith convention, we played some of their talks, David Spleen, Stephen Lett. We played some of their streaming, some of their video, and you saw what they were saying to the Jehovah's Witnesses. Don't believe anything you hear. The news is going to and will continue to have prejudice against the witnesses. That's what the governing body was saying. And, you know, don't believe those news reports. It's all a bunch of lies. So they prepped the witnesses during the convention this summer. So when these programs come on, don't listen to it. It's a bunch of lies. I'm going to play you a little clip from David Spleen. He's a governing body member. And just listen to what he had to say. This was nothing. This convention was nothing more than a prepping session, a prepping session to get you not to listen to all the news reports coming out on how evil the Watchtower is. Let's listen into David Spleen. Let's see what he has to say.
And put in jail. Well, that would apply to...
This is one of the messages to the flock, telling them only to seek truth from elders, warning them not to believe negative reports about the church in the media, not even if someone is jailed for a crime.
Or someone is found guilty by men, as Jesus was. It doesn't mean that he's guilty in the sight of God. So, brothers, we really have to think about these things.
All four women we spoke to believed the organizer...
Well, what do you think of that? I mean, here you have, this is a governing body member. He's saying that you're going to hear reports in the news. Don't believe it. You know, it's just like Jesus. Boy, I'm telling you, this organization, they are beginning to, I mean, not beginning, but they are becoming big-time enemies with Jehovah God, the God of the universe. They are bringing so much reproach. So he's saying here that, you know, even Jesus was accused wrongly. And that's what he's basically saying here with this inquiry into the Jehovah's Witnesses in the UK, that they're being accused wrongly. Friends, can you put up with this much longer? I can't. The organization is a big lying organization. I have no idea how they're going to weasel the way out of all this negative news, because already there are people gossiping in the congregation, so to speak. They're saying, wow, they saw it. They're looking at it as a direct attack from Satan. They completely, many of them disregarded the validity of the report I just played you. And they're actually, because in that report too, in that finding in the UK, They also link some other religions that were also scrutinized for the same issue, for hiding child sexual abuse. So, they're applying, how can they say it's a direct attack from Satan when also the news reported on attacking other religions too? That commission, they looked into other religions beside the Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, you're on with us. If you'd like to speak up, go ahead. We get some people in the green zone. If you want to speak up, now's the time to do it. All right, I guess not. All right. Okay, we've got, in fact, thank you, Randy. What did you say, Randy? We just caught the end of it.
I said the elders, they're no Jesus. They're not Jesus.
You are so right, Randy, so right. Larry, you're calling in from California. What's on your mind?
Yeah, you brought a good point. The witnesses like to say that they've been picked on, but what about the Catholic Church that's been accused in the past? They have no problem, even them pointing their own fingers at that church. And when they continue to be accused of abusing women and children, they don't have a problem with that. But they seem to think that they're the only ones that's being picked on, because they are always in the right, everybody else is in the wrong. So they're being picked on, everybody else is justifiably being exposed.
You're right, Larry. That's exactly what they do. They take it as, wow, my goodness, we're being picked on. They're showing prejudice toward us. But many witnesses, they are opening their eyes. They're beginning to see the delusion, the cognitive dissonance in many of their fellow witness friends. It's really causing a stir. There's so much news that's coming across the internet concerning the witnesses' friends. They're seeing it. Don't think for a second they're not. As a matter of fact, many ex-witnesses, they took the time the last couple of days to send these news reports from the United Kingdom. They took the time to send them to a lot of their family, friends, and relatives that are Jehovah's Witnesses. And they send it to them however they can. And consequently, they're seeing it. They are being questioned. What's going on in the Watchtower? Now, I have to tell you, this independent inquiry into child sex abuse in the Watchtower, let me just say it doesn't have much teeth. I don't want to disappoint you here, but I'm just going to tell you the God's honest truth. It doesn't have much teeth. There really was no reprimand given to the Watchtower. Nothing. They inquired. They looked into their allegations of people coming forward and accusing the Watchtower of child abuse, but there was no reprimand given. This is why I'm not too caught up in all the excitement. I'd like to tell you, oh, I am so happy, I'm doing the happy dance, but I'm not. This inquiry had no bite to it. It didn't. And this had no real positiveness in condemning the witnesses. They acknowledged some of the things they did. But what's really sad? The Jehovah's Witness elders, they more or less replied to the news media when they were doing this, inquiry, and they were saying that they endeavor, this is the Watchtower now speaking, elders, they endeavor to comply with secular laws about reporting allegations of abuse. But survivors say that does not necessarily translate to helping the authorities. Well, they say that they do, go by the news, go by the laws of the land. But in the United Kingdom, I'm going to tell you, it's different than even the United States. There really isn't any mandatory, from what I can understand, there really isn't any mandatory reporting to the police. In this country, you have to do it. But in those countries, they don't have to do it. And it focused in on a number of people, two in particular, Emily and another girl, that were abused by the Watchtower. We won't go into all of it. You guys can write the story on it, I know. But sad to say, even in this inquiry, what I found quite fascinating is one of the lawyers was saying to the elders, if there's a break in the Kingdom Hall, if there's a theft, if there's an arson, or an incident of vandalism, that, you guys report it immediately to the local authorities. You do that when there's a little crime in your Kingdom Hall, yet there did not seem to be the same way of dealing with crime in the Watchtower when it comes in regards to child abuse. So, it's really amazing how the Watchtower pulls this all off. And it's just disgusting. It's disgusting how they will really, let people think that they're really following the guidelines and the local laws, but they're not. They're still hiding molesters in the organization. Yeah, so I wasn't totally.
Rick.
Yes.
How are you, Rick? It's Matt. How are you, my friend?
Well, Matt, I'm doing good. Good to hear from you tonight. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much, and God bless everybody that's on. Just a very quick comment. The statement by David Splain, I'll just say this, Rick, when you think about it, is when you have a leader of a middle-sized religion who is basically telling the followers not to trust the law courts, and even if someone is found guilty, and as you mentioned, the guilty verdicts are not on parking fines, they're on rape, incest, pedophilia, so they're the worst of the worst. When you get told by your leadership, even if someone's been sent to prison for it, don't believe them, that's really seditious. So what really worries me, Rick, is that they're talking about this unusual work. No one can understand the decisions. Well, the fact is if your leadership gets sent to prison because they've covered up, thousands of pedophiles, and then you turn around and go, oh, well, that wasn't us, or Jehovah wanted us to do it, no human could possibly understand that. So this is where I know that Linda James has spoken about this is the sort of stuff that Jim Jones got into. This is the kind of stuff like Watchtower, when it's all on their way, everything's fine and Jehovah's helping them in the law courts. When the law courts ask for responsibilities as well as rights, it's a satanic attack. So I really think it's very, very scary because bullies never like anybody to stand up against them. And to be honest with you, they'll take everybody down with them. That's all I'd like to say. And thank you, Rick, and continue the wonderful work, mate. So, just sending my love to you and the rest of the Six Screens team.
Well, we all say hello to you, Matt, and thank you very much for chiming in with us. We always appreciate your comments. Yeah, so that Sky News and the British Broadcasting Company, well, the Watchtower deceived both of them. Basically, they lied. They lied to the British Broadcasting Company and Sky News. So that is true to form. And the Watchtower once again uses their theocratic warfare tactics. You can lie. You don't have to give the truth. Keep Jehovah's kingdom moving forward. You can lie. So the Watchtower released very crafty, you could say, craftily worded statements to the news media in the United Kingdom. And they said when elders learn, now this is what they released to BBC and also to Sky. They said when elders learn that someone in the congregation is accused of sex abuse, child sex abuse, they immediately take steps to ensure the matter is reported to the external secular authorities as be required by law. Well, wait a minute, hold on one second. I'm going to say here, taking steps to ensure the matter is reported. That's not the same as immediately reported. No, whenever it's a child that comes forward, it's not immediately reported. So, the Watchtower was wrong with that. They're lying to the press. And then they say, as may be required by law, means they do not report when the law does not dictate that they must report. So, yeah, they can hide it. In the United Kingdom, they don't have to really report like they do here in the United States, so they're not reporting. So both BBC and the Sky News, they fell for this act of deceit and made it seem like Watchtower reports all accusations to the police. I wasn't happy with all this reporting. I wasn't. It wasn't done right. The Watchtower got a little bit of a break here. They really, really did. And I have to say that I'm really upset that BBC and Sky, when they approached the Jehovah's Witness leadership in the UK and talked about, are you fairly reporting this? Well, they got no reply. They called the Watchtower over there and they got no reply as usual. But yet at the same time, how can you have an organization that doesn't want to reply to you? And then they did eventually reply, but they had short JW statements. And the statements were really so that, it sounded like they were really having God's blessing upon them. Okay, you're on with us. Go ahead, speak up. You're on JW World News. All right. Well, if you're not going to speak up, please mute yourself. If you're not going to speak up, please mute yourself. That would help me a lot here at the 6 screens. So anyways, there's also in that investigation, the IICSA, looking into the sexual child abuse in religions and organizations, there were other religions too that they looked into: the Baptist, the Islamic religions, Mormonism. I believe it was Mormonism, yes. But also, I must report here that what's the difference between the Watchtower and other religions called out by the IICSA? What's the difference? Well, the difference is the Watchtower lies. The difference is the Watchtower is supposedly the true religion, the only religion on the planet that has God's favor. But yet they can kind of just sneak all around this. Friends, the world is catching up on the Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe many witnesses aren't seeing it, but I'll tell you what, in the court of public opinion, the Jehovah's Witnesses are losing it. Okay, you're on with us. Go ahead, speak up. Go ahead. Please, if you're gonna come in to speak up, please speak up. Other than that, it creates an issue here for me. So speak up. You're on with us. You're unmuted. California, that's you, Larry, I believe. Come in, Larry, if you want. All right, we got people. They come in, but then they don't speak up.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Actually, my phone was muted, so I don't know.
Okay.
What? But it's okay. I'm just so disgusted with the Watchtower, as most of us are. But they're just they need to be exposed, and they're being exposed slowly. But I've talked to witnesses. I talked to my father before he died, and there's just no convincing the Watchtower people. They're just so fooled, and I don't think there's anything you can do for them. Just be there for whenever they do come out, or if they don't come out, just understand that they'll be forgiven in the long run. And we're out. That's the main thing. We're out. We're living our lives now. We're healing. We're going forward, and let's just help each other to move forward.
Well, thank you, Larry. No, that's exactly right. We are healing and moving forward. Thank you for that comment. I also want to say that, I don't know if you guys saw the text for September 3rd. Well, that was just yesterday, right? Today's the 4th. Yesterday's text, you want to talk about timing. When I read yesterday's daily text from the Watchtower, friends, it really gave me a sore stomach. I really felt like throwing up. Really, it was so disgustingly sickening. So Friday, September 3rd, this is their text. It says I'm reading it verbatim. The existing authorities stand in place in their relative position by God. Romans 13:1. Then it says, do elders comply with secular law about reporting an allegation of child abuse to the secular authorities? Friends, now I'm going to step back here for a second. Here they are in the text yesterday, saying, do the elders report to the secular authorities? Well, they know that program came out Wednesday or Thursday of last week, right? They know a lot of people saw it. So now they're responding to the rank and file in their own sneaky way through the text. They knew what was going on. They knew what was coming up. It says, so the question was asked in the daily text, do elders comply with secular laws about reporting an allegation of child abuse to secular authorities? Yes, says the text. In places where such laws exist, elders endeavor to comply with secular laws about reporting allegations of abuse. Such laws do not conflict with God's laws. So when they learn of an allegation, elders immediately seek direction on how they can comply with laws about reporting it. Elders assure victims and their parents and others with knowledge of the matter, and they are free to report an allegation of abuse to the secular authorities. That, my friends, is a bald-faced lie. You know, it's
Rick,
yes.
will you forgive me for being rude and interrupting, but you know I'm going to forget. They are so sneaky. First, they say they endeavor to comply with the law. If you really are dedicated to complying in agreement with the law, you don't say, I endeavor to comply. You say, we comply, but they don't.
Oh.
And when they say we make sure we let them know that they're free to report, well, they're also free to disfellowship themselves, aren't they? Thank you, Rick.
Well, Emery, that's wonderful. You picked it. You had your antenna up. You had your antenna up.
Hey,
I have to say that. Yes, Larry.
You know, another thing that they have said, so they're contradicting themselves. They have said blatantly, we will not change our two witness rule. And you remember that they even had one of the, who wasn't the governing body member, but he's one of the friends of the governing body that talked for them. And he said, we will never change that rule about the two witnesses. So how could they endeavor to follow the rules of the land if they don't want to violate the two witness rule? They're talking out of two sides of their mouth.
Well, yes, you're right, Larry. No, these guys are deceitful. They are deceitful and bald-faced liars. So then it says, but what if the report is about someone who is a part of the congregation and the matter becomes known in the community? Should the Christian who reported it feel he has brought reproach on God's name? No, the abuser is the one who brings reproach on God's name. That is not correct either. That is not right. If someone speaks up and says the witnesses are harboring a pedophile in a Kingdom Hall, that they would be called in for a judicial committee hearing and immediately disfellowshipped. So even when the authorities require mandatory reporting to the branch, it can be seen that, well, the branch will take care of it. We reported it, I guess is how they feel about it. And then they're always trying to get the elders and the organization off on what they call clergy penitent privilege. So most of these acts of sexual child abuse never even get reported. And I must add this, for decades, the Jehovah's Witnesses told victims not to go to the authorities, as that would bring reproach on God's name. And I know this is a fact. When I moved from Florida to come back to New England, I stayed with a witness family. And in the family was a pedophile. And I did not even know it. He was one of my best friends. And from what I was told that he was a pedophile. And I talked to the wife. And the wife said that she went to the elders with this allegation. And the elders said if she spoke up and told anybody about it, she would be disfellowshipped. So, that's how the Watchtower works. They do not want you speaking up about it. Now, friends, I want you to stay with us. We've got a lot to go here tonight, a lot to go here on the 6 screens, JW World News. We do it every Saturday night. I'm not going to get too much more into this report coming out of the United Kingdom because it has no teeth to it. Now, next year, what these reports do, what these investigations do, like the one that took place in England, the United Kingdom last week, is they look into problems with religious officials and cover up of child sex abuse. And then they're going to look at it, they're going to toy with it, they're going to think about what was said. And then in a year, in 2022, they're going to, talk to Congress or the Parliament over there in the UK about it. And if the UK Parliament thinks some action should be taken, they'll take it. If not, they'll give them a pass and the Watchtower will get off. Kind of like the same way they have been in Australia. It was shocking to me that, they had an Australia Royal Commission. They looked into all of this. It was put on the back burner. I still haven't heard much about it. I still haven't heard if the Watchtower even settled the money that they were going to give to the victims. I'm not even sure of that. So if anyone knows, let me know. So there you go. I just wanted to bring that up tonight. But, in that report coming out of the United Kingdom, it wasn't only Jehovah's Witnesses. It was Baptist. It was Methodists. It was Islam. It was Judaism. It was Hinduism. It was Buddhism. And nonconformist religious or Christian denominations. I didn't see Mormons in there, so maybe they weren't brought in. Well, I'm just going to see if we have our friend Timothy. Timothy, are you on there? Are you on the 6 Screens call tonight? Calling in from Pennsylvania? If you are, hit *6. Hit *6 on your telephone pad. Let us know you're on with us. We're going to bring you on in a few minutes. Timothy, you on with us from Pennsylvania? Well, we're going to look forward to Timothy coming on. He's coming on in about 5 minutes. I told him to come on about 8. So he's going to give us a detailed report right from Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, on the information concerning the pyramid that was removed from the gravesite of Russell's. So we're going to talk about that coming up. Timothy Thompson, that's his name. Timothy, if you're on with us, hit *6. If not, we'll wait for you to come on, and looking forward to your call here tonight. So let's just see how that works out. He'll come on. I talked to him today, and he wants to tell his story. Man, he's going to give us firsthand information on how that pyramid, how it came down, and all the information we need to really understand in detail, because it was all over the internet. In fact, that was the biggest story this week. It really, really was. There were more people talking about that pyramid than anything else this week on the internet of Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, my name's Rick Farron, and I'm coming to you live from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And we give you the news the Watchtower does not want you talking about. We do. We have news that's very critical. The Watchtower hates it that we bring you this news, and we've been bringing it to you every week for 16 years. So don't leave us.
Rick?
Yes, Randy.
While we're waiting on this next speaker to come on, I just want to tell you, I try to tune in every week so I can hear the world news about Jehovah's Witnesses around, that's happening around the world. But for just one brief minute, I'd like to talk about news that you don't hear about Jehovah's Witnesses.
Absolutely.
Well, locally here in Oklahoma City, we've got churches that have opened up their doors to give shelter to those thousands of Afghanistan refugees. We don't hear on the news Jehovah's Witnesses doing that with their kingdom halls that are sitting empty and idle, or their convention assembly halls. Nor would they ever do that for the poor people in Louisiana that's having to be evacuated, that's actually suffering down there now. They didn't do it in years past, the hurricanes, and they wouldn't allow even their own brothers and sisters to come in and use the kingdom halls. So, that's what we're not hearing on the news. We don't hear them doing anything charitable.
Well, that's a good point. That's a darn good point, Randy, and thank you for bringing that up. I did not think of that. But, really, there are churches. I see where other churches are helping, but we hear nothing. Even down there on the border of Mexico, all these poor people coming in from South America and what have you, even though I'm not totally in agreement with it all. But where are the witnesses to help them? Where are the witnesses? You're right, Randy. That's good reasoning. The organization, they don't help people. Their motive is to scam you, get you under their control, and they could give two hoots of beans about you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Randy. Well, that's Randy, our good friend Randy. We're still looking for Timothy Thomas. My goodness, Timothy, we're looking forward to you coming on. He'll be on, I'm sure he will. If you are, Timothy, hit *6 on your telephone pad. We'll get him on. He's coming in from Pennsylvania. I know he'll be on, so don't worry. We'll get him on. If I have to make a phone call to him, we'll do that too. But we'll get Timothy on with us. It's so important because he's going to be able to give us all the skinny on what took place with the pyramid down in Allegheny County. Well, you're on JW World News, as I say. I'm just going to skim through here. Anyone have any more thoughts before we get Timothy on with us? Anyone want to bring something up about the inquiry of sexual child abuse in the United Kingdom? Would anyone want to bring that up? Did you talk about it? How about your relatives? Are they seeing any of this? Do you have relatives that are seeing any of this critical news coming across the internet? I know there's a lot of people that are seeing it. They might not. In fact, even one congregation, the sisters were talking about it. They were gossiping about it. And they were saying, well, don't take it serious. It's just an attack from Satan. But, many, many people, they are seeing it. And I want you guys to know that. I'm not looking through rose-colored glasses. And I want to just be very frank with all of you. Many of you guys listening to this program tonight, you have witness relatives and friends. And, there's even some people listening into this program tonight that are being totally shunned. They are perhaps in a bedroom somewhere. Their family's not talking to them. They're getting sicker by the moment. They don't have anyone to talk to, but they listen in to the 6 screens. They listen in because they hear live people talking. It's unedited. You're getting people's heartfelt understanding of what goes on. You can feel their emotion. It's different than, writing on a forum somewhere. You are hearing people's emotions, and something you can really hear in their voices, how concerned they are. And if you're one of those people that listens into the 6 screens, maybe you haven't had the courage to speak up, but I want you to know, I'm going to assure you right now that it's only a matter of time, and many of your relatives will be speaking to you. Many of your friends will be speaking to you. That's starting to happen in my family. I'm telling you right now, I can't give names, but it's starting to happen in my family. All of a sudden, I'm seeing that some of my relatives are starting to be a little more comfortable with me. They're starting to speak up. They are witnesses, but they're starting to speak. So this is good. This makes me very, very happy. But I want you to know, too, if you're one of those people and you have totally been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower, you just know that it's only a matter of time, and you might be getting a call from one of your relatives, maybe even a text. You might be getting that, maybe even a letter in the mail. So don't you discount what I'm saying here, because I really totally believe the Watchtower is caving in. It is caving in right now. So don't despair. Don't think it's all over. Your relatives may be talking to you very shortly. Hello, everyone. You're with 6 Screens, JW World News. We're looking for Timothy Thompson. Timothy, you on with us? By all means, I'd love to have you come on right now. Hit *6 if you're with us. We put this together today. That's one of the biggest difficulties I have here at the 6 Screens is, putting things together and then getting it all to work smoothly. It always doesn't do that. I got to produce some of this stuff, and sometimes it doesn't work as smooth as I like. But I'm going to call in. We're going to call in probably Anne-Marie or someone that might just be able to connect with me for a couple of seconds here. So maybe I can call him on Facebook or whatever. But we're looking for. All right, we're looking for Timothy. He lives in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. We'll get him on. I mean, we are in the same time zone, so it's only a minute over. He was to come on at 8, so we'll see what's going on with Timothy. So Anne-Marie, come on, and I'll try to hunt him down. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, thank you. Randy, I was wondering if you're still on, because I would love to hear more of what you were speaking of, because the way you were
still
talking.
Here. First, I'd like to say, though, that, well, that really encourages me about some of Rick's families talking, because if a family will start talking to the largest apostate in the world, then us little small ones has got some hope, huh?
Well, personally, I hate the word apostate. What the Watchtower calls us. I mean, we know it's not a bad word or a bad thing, but they see us as, you know how they paint us. But Randy, do you mind elaborating? I mean, I know you were trying to say what you had to say kind of quickly, you know, because you're a very considerate man. But now that we have time to fill in to give Rick time to make phone calls he needs to make, I was wondering if you could share more and also your thoughts. And also because of what I heard before about you going to your daughter's home to see if she was okay and to give her money and whatever, and then she called the cops on you. I was wondering how your personal family situation is going, if you care to share anything, and if not.
We still have, you know, she still has nothing to do with us, so we can't talk to her, we can't call her. You know, she's blocked all of us on Facebook, and even her Facebook that she's got it very restrictive, and nobody can see it. Before we even went down there and she called the cops, there was some sickness in the family. You know, it actually ended up being terminal sickness, and ended up being deaths, and so we're trying to contact her to let her know about, you know, our family members. I mean, we had kind of an emergency situation, and we couldn't get through to her. So one thing I did, I saw people that was on Facebook in her congregation, and I posted stuff on there, you know, to try to get in touch with her, to just simply tell her about the situation. But also, I posted direct quotes. I did not edit them, but direct quotes from the Watchtower, how they do not shun people, how they show respect to their parents, all this. And you know what? I got the most hateful response back. One sister said, "Don't ever be posting that apostate crap on my Facebook page again." I mean, it wasn't anything apostate. The only thing I posted was from her JW.org website. You know, but they're just, I don't, you know, I mean, everybody here that's listening that's either been a Jehovah's Witness or still a Jehovah's Witness, they know what I'm talking about, that they're just being brainwashed. And I don't want to say that word to because that really can offend if it's a Jehovah's Witness. But if you think about it, that's what it is. If they're turning away family that's, you know, when they're needing them, when there's dire circumstances and stuff.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you this. I did call somebody down there in Texas today, this morning.
Okay.
I'm not going to name his name, but a Jehovah's Witness man. And I felt very close to him when I was down there. And he talked to me just fine. Now, I didn't talk any religion. I didn't talk anything about Jehovah's Witnesses or anything. But we talked for a long, long time, and he was very kind to me and everything, you know. And that just shows, you know, that not all of them will allow Watchtower to control them all that much, because when he was there, he worked for me, actually. He was probably the most intelligent person I had ever working for me. He was also told not to work for me, to quit. And he did not do that. He stayed on working, you know, even though he got punished by the elders.
Are you kidding?
No, he got punished for not leaving his job. But I mean, after all, it was, and I'm not saying he did it out of love for me. I mean, it was his livelihood. It was, I paid him very well. I paid all my employees well. I paid him actually a lot more money than he'd made from his previous job just coming on. So, you know, why would he want to give that up? You know, just because some elder would tell him that, you know. But he was the only one. So many of the others did quit.
To me, you're just pointing out just another example of thousands of how they exude and overbearingly, show their control, do what we say. They don't care about that poor brother trying to support his family or pay his bills or pay the electric bill or buy his kids new shoes or put food on the table don't work for Randy anymore. That's terrible. It doesn't matter what his motive was. You're doing the right thing, and he is a grown man. Since when? Remember in 2 Corinthians chapter 13 or 1 Corinthians chapter 13, where Paul said, when I was a babe, I had the traits of a babe, but now that I am a man, I have done away with the traits of a babe. It is not a trait of a man to be allowing himself to be told who he can work for and what job he has to quit. That is beyond ridiculous.
But you know, back to Rick's family talking to him, here to Jehovah's Witness, because I remember I was one time, and when I first learned about Rick, in my mind, he had horns coming out of his head. He was Satan himself, if you can imagine that. But after listening quietly and not talking or anything, I found out right away he's just the opposite, most caring person there is. And so, for him to be as famous as he is, and his family now is going ahead and talking, that gives me hope that my daughter, Alicia, there will maybe someday at least open up some limited communications with us. Even if it's just limited, or even if it's, even if it's just down on the down low where nobody else knows about it. I'm not gonna talk about it.
Well, we don't know what's going on with Rick. I mean, he didn't elaborate, and I don't know if he's going to, but he shared enough that he is conveying that he has reason to have hope for the future.
Yeah, because he should not tell any names, because he don't want to be getting them in trouble. They don't need the trouble. I mean, they were pretty brave to do what they did, I think.
Well, whoever, I'm not going to elaborate. I just go by what Rick said, and you're so right. And that's why I get really upset if anybody starts giving Rick grief or starts accusing him of saying something he didn't say, or starts just basically disrespecting him. It really irks my last nerve, because you are so right, Randy. He is a truly good man, a truly good man. I didn't know him at first. It took a few years, but he is exactly the way he portrays himself. He's not a phony. He's not full of himself. He's not dishonest, and he works very hard, and he takes care of his beautiful wife. He's a good, generous, kind, and loving man, and I'm glad to hear you acknowledge that, on the air, and I'm so glad. But, as far as your daughter, apostate stuff, you know what? I tried to reach out to my JW son about maybe 10 years or so ago with the Watchtower, March 1st, 1979, just helping him to kind of take a look at this. What is this actually saying? And I sent it in a letter, and he wrote back that he was so angry, he tore it up. He tore up my letter, threw it in the fire. This is the way a cult works, because they act like, oh, they love Jehovah. Supposedly that means they love the Almighty God. They believe in the Bible, but if you took their own Bible and just showed them a simple scripture, like my favorite one, 2 Corinthians 3:17, that says, now Jehovah is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of Jehovah is, there is freedom. Well, now there's a scripture that should make any Jehovah's Witness sit up and take notice. Wait a minute. Where the Spirit of Jehovah is, there is freedom? We don't have freedom in the Watchtower. They're not free to think for themselves. They're not free to express themselves. They're not free to dress the way they want, or to have a tattoo, or to disagree, or to ask the wrong questions. They will be put out if they don't absolutely, in every way.
Hey, Anne-Marie, this is Rick. No, in fact, you're absolutely right. They will be put out. Hey, listen, we got to just hang in for a second. I think we do have Timothy on with us. Timothy Thompson, you on with us? Hit *6 to come in. Are you there with us, Timothy? I'm not sure why we're having some difficulties here. We went over this today. He had the right telephone number. Timothy, you on with us? I hope he called the right number. This is one of the issues we have here at the Six Screens for some reason. Timothy, hit *6 if you're on with us from Pennsylvania. Timothy Thompson. Let me just check one other thing here. Boy, I'll tell you, that's part of the biggest issues we have here at the Six Grains is getting everything organized and getting people to come in. And well, what happens is sometimes people come in a little late and then we miss it. They hear people talking and then we miss it. But let's see if we can't get him back on here with us. Just give us a second. I'm trying to write to him once again. And I'm not sure. It would make my job so much easier if it would all just work nice and smooth here. But sometimes it doesn't. So let's see. Boy, it's hard to walk and chew gum at the same time here at the Six Greens. We do it a lot lately, but let's see if we can't get a hold of Timothy. I think it's so neat if he could come on and talk to us. I really, really do. I was just on the phone with him today. We went over everything, sent him all the information that he needed. And for some reason, we're not, let's see if we can't get him on. Timothy, let me just see. Tim, let me just write him. I'm writing right now. Tim, are you on? Are you on? Now, boy, I really mean this is a very important call. I wanted to get him on. So I'm not sure what's happening here. I have my phone tied up for taking the Facebook calls, but for some reason, we're not getting Timothy on. 4125. Let me just make sure he's dialing the right number here. Let me just see. Let me just give him the right number to call, and we'll see if he can't get in. Okay, just give me a second here, friends. He's going to talk to us about that pyramid. 727 is what he wants to call. 731 6701. That's the number he's got to call. So let's see if that's the number he's calling. He might be calling in the wrong number, but I don't see him on here. I really don't. 412. Let me just check my numbers here coming into the Six Screen. Some people come in anonymously, so I don't see the numbers. So, Timothy, if you're on with us, Timothy, hit *1. Hit *1, Timothy. *6. I'm sorry, *6. Timothy, hit *6 if you would. Are you on there with us, Timothy? *6. I'm not sure what's going on with Timothy, but we will find out. We'll get him on here. We'll get on. I'm not sure why he's not coming on. This is unusual. Usually people have a hard time coming on the video suite or on YouTube or whatever, but to get someone just to call in, it's just not working right here tonight. Timothy, you call the number I gave you. Check in with us. Hit *6. Hit *6. I'm calling. I try calling, get nothing. I don't know why. Amory, I'm going to bring you back on, okay? I'm going to bring you back on, Amory, okay?
Okay.
All right, I'm going to call him.
Randy, are you there? Okay, who's that?
Anne-Marie.
Yeah, hi. How are you?
I'm just fine. This is Chad over here in California.
Did you say Dan?
Chad. C-H-A-D.
Oh, Thad. Is that short for Thaddeus?
No, just Chad.
Oh, okay. Okay. So how are you doing? What's on your mind, my dear?
Well, I was just going to tell Randy that he can try to hold strong. I got a brother that's 82, and I called him out of the blue after about a year now. Well, it's been a lot longer than that, but and he took my call, and he talked to me for about 2.5 hours.
Oh my God!
He said he was not going to that I could call him once in a while. In other words, he didn't want me calling me very much, but we used to talk every day. So he's kind of waking up a little bit. I think
he's probably a PIMQ. That's just where they kind of start to be aware that something's wrong because they can't ignore it.
Right.
I'm so happy.
And I'm pretty happy about that because he's the only one in my family that I've been able to crack at all. But I also wanted to say that I was watching a video of Jason Zelda, and he's asking all ex-Jehovah's Witnesses to stop calling ourselves apostates and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses.
I hate that word.
Yeah, I hate that word too. And he's saying that we need to be called whistleblowers.
That makes a lot more sense.
I think so too. And he said it will get more attention because of what's taking place in Australia right now. Because the Watchtower is becoming more aggressive to fight. And he said that we need to be called whistleblowers against them so that people will pay attention to it. And
I'm so glad you brought it out. For those who are not aware of who Jason Zelda, that's with a Z-E-L-D-A, Jason Zelda is a dedicated Christian man, never been in the Watchtower, and he's a dedicated researcher into everything concerning the Watchtower. So if you just go to YouTube and type in the search bar, Jason Zelda, you will see an entire list of all kinds of information that Zelda has presented for the sake of any Watchtowerite who wants to know the truth about the truth. And he gives plenty of documentation. I'm just saying it for the sake of the archives and for the sake of anyone listening right now. I am so glad that you brought up about your brother because, you know, I was, I don't know what I was doing, but my Jehovah's Witness brother, my older brother, who is a strict, by the book, always obey every rule, do what Watchtower says, he called me out of the blue, and we talked for almost 2 hours. And, you know, it's just like my mom. She was shunning me hard. And then after 10 years, she slowly, I mean, she wouldn't even say, I love you too. My sister-in-law had to be the go-between. She'd call my mom and talk to my mother, and then she'd say, well, you know, Anne-Marie really loves you. And then my sister-in-law would say that my mother would say, well, I love her too, but she wouldn't talk to me at all. But now, slowly over the years, she's starting to, if I call her, she will not call me. But if I call her, she almost always answers. And as long as I don't say Jesus, Jehovah, the Bible, a scripture, nothing like that. And she'll usually just go talk. And if I don't hang up, sometimes she'll talk for 3 hours, 4 hours. But, you know.
Hey, Anne Marie, I gotta hop in here for a second. I'm just still working on getting Timothy on. So just hang in here with us for a second. Timothy, you on there with us? Hit *6. Timothy, hit *6. *6 on your telephone pad. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I just talked to him just 2 seconds ago. And did you dial in, Timothy? Hit *6 on your telephone pad. I'm not sure what's going on with Timothy. My goodness gracious. I'm not sure. I wanted to get him on. I've been waiting all day for him to come on. And this is some of the issues that we have here at the 6 screens. I just do not get it. I just do.
I wonder if part of it's the enemy, because, you know, the enemy doesn't want the truth to come out.
Well, it's just, it's not even a technical glitch here.
I know.
Timothy, you're listening in, I believe. Could you hit *6? That's how you come in on your telephone pad. The little star and 6, and that will bring you on.
Hello, Rick.
There you are. There you are. Yes, Timothy.
So sorry about that.
It's all right. So that's what you do. You just hit the *6 on your telephone, and we got you. So that's good. Hey, Anne-Marie, we'll go back to you after this. And thanks to caller, too. But I want to get Timothy on. Well, we got him on. He's an important guy. He's the biggest guy. He's the biggest guy in the news this week. I mean, really.
Thank you, Timothy, for coming on. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's well. What we have to do is she fills in for us, and they do a great job. And we'll get back to Anne-Marie afterwards. But I wanted to get you on. You seem to be the big headline. This is your big claim to fame, Timothy.
My 15 minutes.
you got it. So I'm just going to kind of bring people up to speed here on what's been going on. I mean, they've been listening to the news this week, I think. But I mean, the biggest story that was broadcast all over all the different internet sites and YouTubes and what have you had to do with the pyramid and had to do with the Watchtower evidently taking it down. So we're going to get your thoughts on that. So we're going to go into some detailed information on the pyramid that was removed from the Russell Graves site. Now, you correct me if I'm wrong, Timothy, but you do live, was it 3 miles from the Russell Graves site?
I live 3 miles, a little neighborhood called Brighton Heights.
Right. So you are right there, right up front and close. Now, I'm going to be putting some pictures up as you're talking. I've got some of the pictures that I got that you took, which I thank you very much for that. You have helped the ex-witness community this week so much. As a matter of fact, I got a call from a PME, I should say, physically in, mentally out. And she called me this week and she says, Rick, what is going on? There's a lot of buzz going on, I guess, in the Jehovah's Witness world that the pyramid has been vandalizing and now it looks like they're removing it. So this has been a big buzz, not only for ex-witnesses, but also for active witnesses as well. So as you're speaking here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some pictures up so people will be able to see what you're talking about. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Timothy.
Okay. First of all, I'm not seeing the pictures. Okay. Do you have the one with the backhoe?
I'm going to put that up right now. Just give me a second. I'm going to put that up with the backhoe. That's coming up right now. So let me just make sure we got it here. And I'm going to make it nice and big so people can see it. And there it is right there. Yep, there it is right there. People can see it. So, yeah, go ahead. Talk about that. There it is with the backhoe. Yep.
Okay. Well, there'd been a lot of rain in Pittsburgh, remnants of Hurricane Ida, and a road I wanted to take was flooded. So I thought I would come up Cemetery Lane. It's a very twisty, windy road. I come around the corner, and here's this backhoe working, moving the panels. And I saw 4 men standing around the grave. I don't know if you can see the white truck in the background. I drove my car up there. I got out, walked down to them, and I asked, I said, I see you're moving the pyramid. Do you know where it's going to? They said, oh, no, we don't have any idea. You'd have to ask the guys working here on the truck. Well, they were busy. There was no way I could talk to them. Well, the gentlemen, they each shook my hand. I asked if they were Jehovah's Witnesses, and they told me no. But I had a very strong impression that one of them was. But anyways, I went down. I took a picture of the truck. It was obviously rented. And so I called the rental company, and I asked if they knew where the pyramid was headed. And they didn't. So they gave me a number to call. I called that. He had no idea. He gives me another number. When I called it was the cemetery again. Well, I had called them the day after I learned of the damage, because there were a lot of people wondering if the Watchtower still owned the pyramid. The first time I called him, he confirmed that they did. The second time I called, he was quite hostile. He said, I am under contract. I cannot give you any information. And I figured he had been receiving phone calls everywhere. And so I started thinking, and it's like I remembered reading somewhere that the pyramid, the inscriptions on it had been done nearby. So I started calling the monument makers. There's like 4 along Cemetery Lane. The second one I called here it turned out to be the company that back in 1920 put up the pyramid. And he told me that the Watchtower Society had a representative had come. He found a lawyer earlier in the week, and that they wanted to know what it would cost to take the memorial down. So he said he was willing to take a crane and lift it, the panels up, clean them, because we were the steel city at one time. In 100 years, a lot of dirt collects, and the monument was pink granite. It should be much, much lighter in color. He would clean it. He would repair the damage where the crosses had been chiseled out, and the Watchtower wanted nothing to do with that. They said, we just want the monument out of here. And back in the 90s, the pyramid had been vandalized. Many feel that is when a box inside had been stolen, a time capsule, and the pyramid had been damaged during that. So the Watchtower wanted to guarantee that that damaged panel would not suffer more harm. Well, he was willing to guarantee his work, but he could not guarantee that the already damaged panel would not suffer more damage. So he told them he would not do it. Well, my heart sank, because it's like, oh, but he goes, I can't tell you where the pyramid's going. And he says it's going to a warehouse in Coraopolis. Now, that just happens to be where the Pittsburgh Assembly Hall is, up by Pittsburgh International. And he said it's going to be stored in this Coraopolis warehouse until the Watchtower prepares a site in New York State. He said, I don't think they're in Brooklyn anymore. And I told him no, they had moved the world headquarters to Warwick. And there was Watchtower Farms is a big facility in Wallkill. Well, he said, I don't know where those are, but that's where the pyramid is eventually headed.
Well, that's good news. That's now people are beginning to understand this, Timothy. There was a lot of buzz. Of course, we reported last week here on the Six Screens News. We reported that it was vandalized, and then evidently it was removed, as you say, and we see that in the pictures. So it was removed. So what got my interest on this is I'm wondering, did Jehovah's Witnesses have permission? That is the Watchtower Society. Did they have permission to remove it from that grave site? Some of the Bible students this week was saying that belonged to them, but what's your feelings on it?
Oh, no. When I called the cemetery the day after I learned of the damage, he made it very plain that it was the Watchtower Society owned that. And on further research, I learned from other sources, Watchtower History. I don't know if you've heard of them, Jeff and Paul. And he was in contact with some of the, there's a lot of sources out there, but there's one source of his has extensive history of the cemetery. And he confirmed that my information was right. What happened is the society, of course, originally owned the entire cemetery, but they sold most of it to the Catholic Church, to the parish that was here. Eventually came under the Diocese of Pittsburgh. But the Watchtower maintained control of what they called the Bethel plot, which contained the pyramid, Russell's grave, and then basically that the Bethel plot, the pyramid was at the center of that. And what the Watchtower Society back beginning of the century planned, they started to bury people beginning at each corner, and they were going to work their way in to the pyramid. originally the cemetery was going to hold those who died at Bethel and traveling overseers who were known as pilgrims back then. But when they moved to Brooklyn, it became too expensive to, bring the deceased from Brooklyn to Pittsburgh. And so the society, that was when they sold off most of it. But they do have other areas in the cemetery besides the Bethel plot.
Well, that's really, really fascinating. Now, we have a lot of people that are coming in from pretty much all over the world here tonight on our radio network, Suite and YouTube and what have you. We're on 4 different networks, so plenty of people are listening in. And I'm looking at some of the comments that people are writing as we are going through all of this. What we have here is, what about the family? This got my attention. How about C.T. Russell's family? How do you feel about them having a say in all of this? I mean, did they take that into consideration? Maybe you're aware of it, maybe you're not. What do you think?
I'm not sure if any of the family is left. That I do not know. I know that the last person buried in the Watchtower plots was his sister. I think her name was Margarita Land. She was the last one buried, I think, around 1934. And the rest of his family was buried over at what's called Allegheny Cemetery, which is more towards the eastern part of Pittsburgh in the neighborhood of Lawrenceville. That's where his father and mother were buried. And Mrs. Russell was buried in Florida.
Well, when we talked today, you gave me some very informative thoughts. Now, the Watchtower used this, looks like a giant backhoe to lift that pyramid slab out of there. Now, when you told me you talked to people who make monuments there in the Pittsburgh area, that they were consulted, as you said earlier, on this. Did you mention, I'm not sure, did you mention the amount that it would cost to replace that pyramid today?
Yeah, it was the originally Donatelli Granite Company, and they're still in existence. They use the Donatelli name. I asked him what it would cost to say you or I wanted a pyramid on our grave, and he said it would be about $100,000 to put a pyramid up. So, repairing it I would think, be much less than that. If the society sold off 1 or 2 more Kingdom Halls, or asked the kids to sell some more, or give some more of their ice cream money, they probably could have raised the money for repairs.
Yeah, well, I found that fascinating, Timothy. Now, what I was going to ask also is, you did mention that they were going to put it in storage. They were going to send it to a storage facility at the Assembly Hall there near Pittsburgh. But what also got my fancy on this whole story here is, you would think the Watchtower would have a little more feeling for some of the grave sites you were mentioning earlier that they ran over with the backhoe. Give us some information on that. Yeah.
The amount of damage was just terrible. Like I said, this was the day Pittsburgh was getting hit by the remnants of Hurricane Ida. And we have a lot of rivers, hills, and so it was a terrible day. And the mud, I have pictures, you can see where the tractor just dug huge, did great damage going up in there. And it was all over the hillside. They ran over graves. They even ran over a baby's grave, and it pushed the tombstone down where you couldn't even hardly see it anymore. Now, I was by, yesterday was a beautiful day, and I went by to see if anything had been done yet, but it hadn't. But I go through there every day taking my nephew to work, and I plan in the next week to go by every day, and if anybody's repairing it, I plan on stopping and finding out if they are with the cemetery or if they're, tactfully find out if they're Jehovah's Witnesses, try to find out maybe what congregation or company. And so if I get any information like that, I'll be sure to just send you a message.
Oh my goodness, that would be
But
wonderful.
they're going to pay a fortune in repairing the damage that was done that day. And I think what is sad is that Donatelli told me that they were planning, they would bring a crane in, that they would have been down on the road, reached over with the crane, pulled it up, and there would have been no damage. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. To me, it showed a terrible, and this may not be the Watchtower's fault. I don't know who was contracted to do the work because it was all rental equipment. But you would think they would show a little more respect for a cemetery.
Well, you would think so. And, some
but
people...
it may have been a matter of cost, and perhaps times are tight for the Watchtower right now.
Well, that's a possibility with all the lawsuits. But what got me thinking, too, is they could have removed it with a crane, like you say. That would have cost them more money. And they wanted to go for the least expensive way of doing it. And what really was fascinating to me, too, is the fact that they didn't want to preserve it. Now, I know it was in dire straits, as you said earlier on another broadcast I was watching. It was falling apart. It had big cracks in it. It was vandalized. So in the Watchtower defense, I would say that maybe they were afraid it was going to fall down on somebody and they could get a lawsuit. So they just figured it might be best to haul it out of there. But I rather doubt they'll ever set that monument back up at Wallkill or Warwick. They want that to disappear from their history. That's what I feel, Timothy.
Well, the irony is if they did want to put it back on display, they would have to restore the cross. Now, that would be a little bit awkward for their teachings on the cross. An interesting thing, if I might put this in, from another program, I learned that there were two initials at the top of the pyramid that you could see after the cap was taken off. And it looked like it was FK, but I learned through some research that the man who did the engraving was an Edward Kohler, Kohler. And so we're thinking now that it was actually EK, and beneath those initials was the number 19. And of course, the pyramid was put together beginning 1919 and completed in 1920. I thought that was fascinating. I wanted to get pictures of it, but the only way I could get pictures of those initials were to stand on top of what looks like books on the side of the pyramid. That's where they were going to engrave the names of everyone buried in the Watchtower plot, the Bethel plot. But I was too afraid that to get up there because the pyramid would collapse, and I didn't want that to be what I go down in history for. The man who brought the pyramid down.
Well, that's really well. We're so pleased that you were able to do this. I mean, that you're the man of the week here. I have to tell you that, Timothy. I really mean it.
I did learn one other thing. If I could just put this in here, that Mr. Donatelli told me that back in the early '80s, around the time of the the centennial, yes, around the time of the centennial of the society, 1984, they had a big celebration at Three Rivers Stadium, everything at Cape. And he said that he was approached by I think it was his father, possibly his grandfather, was approached, and the society, and this is more proof they still had the pyramid. They asked if they could have all of the records that they had, and his father or grandfather gave them everything, probably the drafts of what it was going to look like and billing and all of that. So I found that fascinating.
Well, no doubt this whole week it's very fascinating. Not only is it Watchtower history, but it also many people were looking at a scandal behind all of this. So, at least you coming on here and letting us know what's going on, it's kind of helping people get their nerves settled. Now, Timothy, would you mind if we opened the phones up and brought some people in to ask you some questions?
No, that would be fine.
All right.
Timothy?
Hello?
I'm sorry. I just want to ask real quick. I am so sorry if I'm out of line. I would love to know, do you think that this was done surreptitiously, or do you think that all of the witnesses pretty much knew that this was planned, or do you think that they just kind of did it? And however that happened, how did you happen to be there?
Of course, I'm only giving my personal opinion here. I think it just was the work of vandals. I don't think there was anything sinister behind that. I actually was listening to a broadcast of Watchtower history. They go into Jeff and Paul are their names. They are not connected. They are not witnesses, and they do fascinating history. They go into depth on Watchtower history. And I was watching one of their programs, and it was on that program that I learned that vandals had struck. So it was like, I'm going out there and getting pictures. And that's how I saw the damage. Actually, I think the damage to the crosses was done some time ago. But just this last week, someone went in and stole the capstone at the very peak. And that was what kept the pyramid together. Without that,
you happened to be there when this was being done? I'm just curious.
When they were actually removing it?
Yes, sir. Please.
Oh, that was either Holy Spirit or dumb luck. We had a lot of flooding. I was planning to take a different road, but this stream had overflowed. I couldn't go that way. So it's like, well, I'll take Cemetery Lane. And I came around the corner, and there they're working. I couldn't believe they were working under the conditions that we had.
So probably Holy Spirit wanted you to see it, because I'm thinking this kind of sounds sneaky, and it's been brought out so many times. Watchtower is desperate for money. They know that this has been a tourist attraction. Many JWs have gone there and had their pictures taken next to the pyramid. I'm just wondering, is it possible that they said, let's just remove it and it'll save us money in case anything happens? We don't want a lawsuit. And if they're going to store it or whatever, I am just dying to know if you think, or if somebody else thinks it just might be possible that they might quietly put it on the market within the JW community.
Well, in the old days, I would have said no, but it seems lately the Watchtower has become the price is right. And or let's make a deal. If the money's right, maybe they would part with it. But reality is, I think they want this thing forgotten. My opinion is it's going to end up at Watchtower Farms or one of these facilities, and they'll safely store it, but it will gather a great deal of dust before it ever sees.
And in your opinion, you said you felt that maybe one of the workers was a JW, but did you not have a particular feeling that maybe the other ones could have been quietly there? Howard, what do you think?
Possibly two of them. the witnesses seemed to dress a certain way. Two of them I felt were with the cemetery. I've been out almost 30 years. I thought I recognized the one, but that would have been so many years ago. But it just, you get vibes sometimes, and I felt one was. And they were very uncomfortable with me being there. I actually had my nephew.
The fact that they were uncomfortable, why would they care?
No, they were very uncomfortable. And I had my nephew, and my partner was in the car, and he said that, or they told me that, boy, was I getting some looks when I was trying to take the pictures. I said, really? And they told me, yes, from what they could see, I was not welcome.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. Well, Timothy, I want to thank you so much for answering my questions, and I'm sure for all, thank you so much for being on tonight. We've all been looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your kind words.
Timothy.
Hello.
This is Randy. I just have two quick questions for you. The ones that were actually operating the backhoe, if I understand right, the ones that did the damage, you don't know if they are Jehovah's Witnesses or not?
No, I would have loved to have talked to them if there had been one standing down by the tractor trailer that they had. I would have, but they were all working that equipment, and it was not safe for me to approach them.
Well, all I think of is all the construction buildings that they go on. They have all their own volunteers, their own Jehovah's Witnesses come in and do the work. Now, I could see them maybe renting the equipment, and then their elders operate the equipment. And
that's why I think that was my impression. And then I had the one was probably with maybe the congregation or whatever.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me if that damage never gets taken care of. But I got
how would you explain it?
How
would you explain them fixing the cross?
Yeah, my second question for you is, with all that damage to that cemetery, now keep in mind, when I ask you this, I don't want the past Jehovah's Witness in you coming out, but can you say that cemetery then looked like hell afterwards?
Oh, yes. Yes, it wasn't.
So in other words, the grave, the hell, get it?
Yeah, the cemetery. Evidently, there was, from what I've heard, there was a witness that had been maintaining the pyramid and keeping the site up, and that he moved away. It might be also one of the reasons that they shipped it. They wanted it out of there. I certainly don't. I can't blame the Watchtower Society because I don't know who they contracted to do this. Was it an outside company? Like you said, I think it probably was internal. Probably brothers in the Pittsburgh area that operate heavy equipment, and either they've volunteered their time and brought it out of there. But what I hope I can do, as I said, is that I can in the next week find them, go out there and find them when it's being repaired, and try to find out, who's doing the repairs.
But maybe one thing is maybe find out the others graves. If you could contact the families and ask them if they're aware of the damage that was done.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Well, those are all good questions, right, Timothy?
Excellent, yes.
Yeah, no, in fact, we have more.
Hi, Timothy. Oh, go ahead, Rick. Hi. Are you done, Rick?
I'm done, yep.
Okay, so can you tell me again the name the initials on top of the pyramid, your theory on what the initials might represent again?
It looked like it was FK, but doing research, found out that the man who engraved did the actual chiseling. I guess you'd call him a stonemason was Edward Kohler. And now I've been working the last few days trying to track him down. I think I might have found a lead this morning.
And how do you spell the last name?
Kohler.
Okay. Okay. That's quite interesting.
Yeah. I found that very fascinating.
Yes, very fascinating. And the day that they were taking it down, from just what I'm hearing here and there, was it a day that there was rain happening? And it seems like it was dismantled on the 1st of September. Or do you think that? See, I've got a few. I've already got a few videos on my channel regarding that pyramid. And so I'm already in the makings of making another one. So I'm wanting to put a little info with it, because I've always been amazed. Like, that was the first thing when I met Randall Waters that I got to find out was very odd about the organization. He had these pictures, like a regular picture that we used to all put in our photograph, in our picture albums, right? And it was, you know, a nice shiny, and it was this pyramid. And I was told that it's over by Russell's grave. And I'm like, that was just the oddest thing. And that took me into learning about the pyramidology and how they got 1914 and things like that. So it's kind of dear to my heart because it represents my first research within the organization.
Yeah. I've been surprised in talking to different people how many had never heard about it before. When I was in, maybe I mentioned this earlier, that in 1978 with the convention, they were taking buses up and they were explaining the history of it. But certainly, after at some point, they have decided, you know what, we got to sweep this thing under the rug. And I personally love history, and being from Pittsburgh,
I do too.
I really love the history of. I just find Charles Russell very fascinating. I personally think that the Bible students died with Rutherford. You know, the Jehovah's Witnesses began under Rutherford, not Russell.
Absolutely.
The corporation may have continued, but Russell would not have recognized nor approved, I don't think, what the Watchtower.
I don't either, and I'm under the impression that this was a monument that he wanted, meaning Russell wanted erected, and that this is not an odd thing that many other people, there's Joe 4747, who's gone around to all these different places where they would have pyramids near their graves. So this was kind of a thing that I find very interesting. So have you heard that too?
Well, I did a little research of my own, and I learned that there are eight pyramids in the Pittsburgh region, in the immediate Pittsburgh area. Out of those 8, Russell's pyramid is the only one that is to scale with the Great Pyramid. The base is 9 feet, and then it's 7 feet.
Oh, to scale.
7 feet to the top. Yes, and Russell believed that the peak of the Great Pyramid represented Christ Jesus, and but anyways, I found that fascinating. Whether it was true, I don't know. But this was on just a history of cemeteries in the Pittsburgh area.
Oh, that's fascinating. And I remember that he considered, you know, the pyramid of Gaza, the Bible in stone. You know, so he had great value of how he viewed it. And I'm under the impression also that Rutherford did make sure that this was erected because Russell wanted it and it happened. Under Rutherford, even though, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if many know this, but where the Masonic temple is now that people see in the background of the pictures, that was John Bonnett's farm. And John Bonnett was the one that raised the miracle leaf that Russell sold.
Did he really?
$60 a barrel. I lost my train of thought there. But
right.
Anyways, you know, and it was because of the miracle wheat trial that a lot of information on the cemetery came out. And because you see, what they did is the Watchtower Society provided the funds, I believe through Van Amberg, who was a big Watchtower leader at the time. And what they did is they created a shell corporation, the United States Investment Company. And so what they planned to do was half the money from sales of plots would go to the United States Investment Company. The other half would go to the Watchtower. Now, when the Watchtower went to sell off parts of the cemetery, what they did is that money, of course, went into the United States company, and Russell used that money. At the time, if you could buy one share for $10, so he took that money, yes. And with that, it guaranteed that no one would ever be able to challenge his ownership of the Watchtower. But the John Bonnett, who grew the miracle wheat, he also was a major force behind the pyramid. He was a caretaker for the cemetery.
Okay.
And after he later would go back to Brooklyn and later became a traveling overseer for many years.
Oh, did he? Oh,
yeah.
Did he? Okay. Fascinating.
There's a lot of information out on the internet. One great spot is Truth History Blog Spot. They have tremendous information.
I've been there, yes.
And a great, this is a complete irony, but about 2 weeks ago, I ordered a book called Charles Taze Russell, His Last Days, His Death, and His Funeral in 1916. It's written by a Bernhard, I may not be pronouncing the last name, Brabenneck. And it's an extremely interesting book, but the pictures he has are pictures that I've never seen before. And you can actually see the pyramid when it was new. And it was a rose-colored granite.
Yes.
And
yes, pink.
Of course, the picture's black and white. Pink, I'm sorry, yes. It would have been beautiful back in its day. There's times I wish I could travel in time and, just pop up and observe. And that would be one.
Me too. Now, is there any way I can reach you? Maybe are you on Facebook or is there a way I can reach you to?
I run a humor group on Facebook called JW Humor Will Set You Free. And I can be contacted there.
Okay.
And if I don't know if Rick can do this, he's more than welcome to give you my number. I don't know if you can do that.
Okay.
Rick. And
I would appreciate that. And I'll let you go. And thank you for your time. Yes. Hi, Matt.
Oh, how are you?
Is that you, Matt?
Just both of you. Can you? Yeah, I'm fantastic. Hi, Tim. How are you? I'm Matt Christopher from Australia. I saw you on Jeff's program, and I also love the history of the Bible students. I don't know whether you were aware that CTR's sister is actually buried beside him. Were you aware of that in a pretty much unmarked grave next to him? Were you aware of that, Tim?
Yes, she was the last person buried in the Watchtower.
Yes.
the Bethel plot there. I thought that was really interesting. I was trying to find it, but then I later went back and found out that it was unmarked, which is kind of sad when you think of it.
Well, actually, just as a side point, I know Bible students that wanted to actually get a marker for her, but Watchtower won't allow it. My question to you and to Linda is that them removing it for preservation purposes, and I know Jeff disagrees with me, but I am highly suspicious that vandalism that happened was a targeted attack on the cross and the crown, not on anything else. And then they took off the capping stone, and next minute it's gone for preservation. So if it ever does appear somewhere at a roundabout at headquarters, they'll never have the cross and the crown because they hate Bible students so much. But my question to you, Tim, and to Linda, do you think that they will then turn around and say, oh, look, we have to remove Russell's gravestone, the actual headstone, because that's getting vandalised? Because if they do that, as you know, the names of the Bible students that are on the flanks of the pyramid, that's gone, so we don't know where they are. If they manage to say for preservation purpose, they take away CTR's headstone for preservation purpose, there will be no reminder of that. And I was saying to Jeff that I spoke to someone in New York, a Jehovah's Witness, about the site. He didn't know who I was. He said that the society did not want Bible students going up there on Russell's birthday or when he died or things like that. And the Bible students have the convention in Johnstown up there, and they really, as in the local Jehovah's Witnesses don't mind, they have the tours, but the Watchtower itself, it's not an understatement to say, or overstatement to say, they absolutely hate the Bible students. What's your feeling on that, Tim? Do you think it's possible, or they'll just leave it as is? That's my question for you. So,
anything is possible. That would be a real outrage if they did that. To me, they're just simply bringing more attention to it. You know, the suddenly interest in the pyramid is exploding everywhere in the XJW. Actually, I've been in contact with a couple members of Bible student groups that, split off. I plan, actually, what I'll try to do is get a hold of one of them and see if they've heard any of those rumors. I haven't, but I think that would just be a terrible outrage.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Thank you for everything that you're doing, and also the evidence that you. No, it's very important. And thanks, Linda, very much for everything that you do. My personal opinion, being of the fourth generation Jehovah's Witness, is that one of the things that got me interested in Russell, I should say, was my great grandmother had went to the photodrama of creation showing, and they got given and they had that, and there was a convention, I think Mum told me in the 60s, I might be wrong, and they were told point blank to throw away all of the old books. And so Mum said she was very upset that they threw away the grandmother's old books. And so I thought, that's just ridiculous. I actually went searching for it. Yep. And the good thing was, Linda and Tim, it only cost me $300 US to get it. So I'm really glad they threw it away. There's nothing better to spend my money on. So
oh my goodness.
To me, I think, this is just my opinion, is Russell is really problematic for them because
most people don't realise he was the leading non-Jewish Zionist in the world. And I don't, like he was, I think Benjamin Netanyahu, I've seen it, former Prime Minister, actually said, I'm paraphrasing, that when the history of basically Israel and its return is written, Charles Taz Russell, who has to be there, so I just think their anti-Zionist position, or their anti-Jewish position, because they've replaced Israel with themselves, I think
yes,
he's just really problematic for them. So they'd love him gone forever. So thank you, Tim. I really appreciate
Thank you. That is interesting.
Thank you.
And I think that Russell still is the connection with 1914. And,
absolutely.
That is still, because the whole foundation of the Watchtower doctrine pyramid was based on 1914. And certainly by erasing Russell's memory, I think that their second greatest wish would be to get 1914 either forgotten or looked at in a completely different light.
Yes, that's what I picture. Looked at a different light, because they really cannot get rid of it at this point, I don't think.
And also,
can I get
Linda,
clarity on what
you can talk on this, is the overlapping generations craziness. That all goes back to 1914. So
exactly. And Goat-like personality gives the best video on teaching one how to count the overlapping generation, and he uses his own baby goats. Very helpful. he has a sign and everything. It's very.
I just did almost an hour and a half program with him tonight.
Love him.
Good time. Yeah, we did a lot of history, but we did a lot of humor in it. So I had a busy day, and I enjoyed meeting him. What you see on his broadcast, he's the exact same in person.
Oh, good. And he knows a good amount of history.
Can I tell you a story about ZIonist at the protest in Australia? Okay, we were there at the protest, and ZIonist was there with his camera, and I saw this. We all saw it, and a young Jehovah's Witness guy was walking along, and ZIonist had his camera, and he punched ZIonist in the face and kicked him in the stomach, and all the witnesses stopped. And they said, and ZIonist said, we're all meant to be loving Christians, so I will be like Christ, and I will forgive you, my brother. This is the truth. You are. You were there. They broke his camera. So, it's so loving.
And he would have.
That's exactly what he would do. Yeah, he would have. Even though he kind of takes a different stance on Christ, he definitely would have meant it. And it would not have surprised him. This attack would not have surprised him. And he could I picture him actually thinking about where he was back in the day when he was a true believer. So I know that he gets it.
Yeah.
And what I'm needing is some clarification on this unmarked plot and history is there. And you spoke of it as a shear. What's that? What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. What was that?
You two were talking about Matt and yourself, Timothy, were talking about an unmarked grave next to Russell's grave, having some form of history.
Yep. She was the final one buried in the Watchtower plots, but it's unmarked.
That's Marie. That's Margaret, isn't it? His sister.
Yeah.
And it was unmarked on purpose?
Oh, that I don't personally know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to add that when I watched I am actually taken back with how heartbroken I am about this. And thinking about other monuments that have been taken down over the last year or so for the various reasons. And,
I've been by there a couple of times, and I feel like I've lost a friend. It's a weird feeling.
Yes.
But,
yes,
and been there for, it's just been there. And I always was able to, if I took, quote unquote, a worldly person, by the way, the founder of Jehovah's Witnesses is buried up there. And, they're always interested, and they, of course, what's up with the pyramid? And when you tell them the story, they look at you like you got two heads. But
right. So you were asking Matt about would they consider getting rid of the gravestone for Charles Taze Russell since they've gotten rid of the pyramid and such? Well, when I was watching the channel,
I did it very carefully, and Tim picked up on it. I said for preservation purposes, so we have to be very careful on that. So
correct.
If a mosquito
Thank you for telling me that.
They will come and dig it up and say, it's for preservation purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed that.
I'm so glad, and I'm being very submissive, and I don't usually, I've gone past that whole submissive to man crap, but for you, thank you. I do stand corrected.
Well, Timmy,
let me just add it. When I was watching,
you are wearing a head covering while you speak, aren't you?
Absolutely, my headphones are my head covering. I got the kind with a little bar on top. It goes right across. That's my head covering. Yes, it's not a JW.org approved head covering, but it is my own. Yeah.
Well, Timothy.
So again, when I watched, you know what? This is like the 14th time I've started this sentence. And when you're done, can I finish my sentence, Rick?
Go ahead, Lindy. Yeah, finish your sentence. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm so glad you love me. Okay. So when I watched Watchtower history, they mentioned that the picture of Charles Taze Russell has been removed from the headstone a few times. So the question of has that ever been vandalized? It's been replaced. But that was said in the video. And they're like, they know that stuff. That's all I wanted to say. But I missed the whole mosquito could land, and for preservation purposes, it wouldn't need much. Okay.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to
falling off.
Just wanted to say, in fact, that the Watchtower, it's kind of a sad week. It really is kind of a sad week, Timothy. I mean, that's one of the things that got me to disconnect from the Watchtower too, was the pyramid. And many people disconnected from it. So it's a sad week. I would use that as a great crutch to stand on. Take a look at the Watchtower history. Boy, so, I'm not, I don't like the idea it's removed, but I don't think that pyramid will ever be put up on any Watchtower site, whether it's up at Watchtower Farms or whether it's at Warwick or wherever it would be, that baby's going to just be secretly held somewhere in storage, I'm sure. Let's bring some more people on. We've got people still wanting to come on. If you'd like to say hello to Timothy, he's the man.
Hi, Timothy. It's Dixie.
Hello.
I have Charles Taze Russell's autograph in my King James Bible. My family goes back a long way. And my dad always, that the authority after CT died was taken by Rutherford, and that CT had planned, the Pastor Russell had planned to give his publishing business to some brothers and sisters in authority. So you've given me a new idea that maybe he wanted to give some of the publishing authority to his fleshly sister.
Well, this is interesting because I mentioned this book on Russell's last days, his death, his funeral. It has the Watchtower Charter in there.
Down and all history sites
his will, rather. It has his will, and he mentions, of course, there was supposed to be an establishment of 5 brothers on a committee, and they would decide on all issues. But when it came to his shares, if I read the chart or the will right, I felt that it read that all of his shares were to be divided between 4 women.
Yes.
And that's something that I just haven't had a chance to look more into. But that's what I understood from reading his will, and I found that very, very fascinating.
That's what my father told me, and he was quite a bit older when I was born, and that's what he said, that there were women that Russell wanted to succeed him in the business capacity.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know, but that's certainly interesting, and what I found, I certainly want to look into more.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was the site? What was the book title and the site that had the history again, please, sir?
The site was, and there's many others, but one of the sites I use a lot is Truth History Blogspot.
All right. And what was the book title that had his will?
Book, which I got off Amazon. I'm not sure where all it can be found, but it's called Charles Taze Russell, His Last Days, His Death, His Funeral in 1916. The author is Bernhard, Bernhard, J. Brabenec, Brabenec. He's done a number of books, History of the Bible House. I've been reading one on Brooklyn Tabernacle.
Yes, yes.
That they used, because I'm just fascinated with Russell and Bible students.
Mm-hmm. It was a neat period in history, and he was more egalitarian to women than you would think in terms of the business and printing and editors, and Mariah Russell was a pretty good copy editor and things like that. Also, did you find any leads at all to the, I think it's called the National Turpentine Company? It seems that Russell had the concession on all the South American turpentine, and have you found any links to National Fruit Company?
I have heard of those, but I could not tell you where I heard them from or where I've read.
Because he traveled extensively. He had all that haberdashery money behind him, and I just haven't found any history link. But again, my dad told me that that Russell's people owned all the turpentine in South America, and that this National United Fruit Company.
Yeah, I've heard of that, but I couldn't tell you where. Maybe it was on the Truth History blog, but it would be worth looking into.
I will. I shall check. Delightful.
By the way, an interesting, being in Pittsburgh, Russell and his father had a duplex side by side. It's up by Allegheny General Hospital. Mm-hmm. They recently restored it to what it probably looked like in Russell's time. But what's interesting is that the new owners put a plaque to Charles Russell's dad. They did not put a plaque on the side that Charles lived on. I thought that was interesting.
Well, they had all that haberdashery money, so I guess they did pretty well. I have friends that were in the Pittsburgh Symphony. It's a lovely town you have there.
Oh, thank you. We're proud of it.
Hear from the gentleman from Australia. So I'll see if I can link up with you on your Facebook page. That sounds really fun. And thank you.
Please do. By the way, I write a story called Babadoo, the Faithful and Under Your Feet Wiener Dog. And he has a group of dogs called the Great Crowd of Canines that no dog catcher could number. And basically, his whole life is spent nipping at the heels of the governing body. I actually have a wiener dog named Babadoo, but his life is fictional. And
that's all good dogs go to heaven, isn't it?
That's right. So if you join the humor group, you automatically become a member of Babadoo's group.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, Timothy, I have to tell you, we had lots of people that wanted to talk to you tonight. Now, I don't want you to be a stranger here at the 6 Grains. Boy, you really You really lit up the telephone lines tonight. Lots of people wanted to talk to you. So once again, how are people going to get a hold of you if they want to speak to you?
Okay. If it's okay, I'll give my email.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Okay. I'll spell it. It's rubybeare@gmail.com. rubybear@gmail.com. And I will get back to whoever messages me as quickly as I can.
Well, my goodness, you made a big hit here. You made a big hit here on the 6 screens. I've
enjoyed it immensely. It's a lot. It's fun when you talk about something you're passionate about, and enjoyed it very much, Rick. Thank you.
You're a very knowledgeable man. Now you keep going by that site, and if you see anything different, you let me know, and we'll get you back on here maybe next week or the week after, and you can talk some more about it. Okay?
That sounds good, because I'm determined to find out who fixes that summit.
Well, you're a man and a half. We really appreciate you coming on tonight, Timothy. You made my day. You made my week. Thank you. That was the biggest story this week, and I really appreciate you coming on the 6 screens. You have a good one. Stay safe and keep waving that flag of victory. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
All right. Well, there you go. That's Timothy Thompson. My goodness, down there in Allegheny, Pennsylvania. Friends, I have to tell you that was the biggest story of the week. I mean, we do 6 screens JW World News every single week, 16 years. But I'll tell you, that was one of the biggest stories with the Watchtower JW.org's pyramid being removed. Big time, big time. Thank you, Timothy. Well, I just wanted to, we don't have enough time here to go into some other stories. We'll save that for next week. But I'm noticing that, of course, the fiscal year for Jehovah's Witnesses, it ended in August, right? Just a few days ago. But also we're now realizing that the baptisms are way down for the year 2020. They're reporting on that last year because, the year behind because of the fiscal arrangement. But we're learning that 241,994 were baptized in 2020. That is down from about 60,000 baptized in 2019. Well, we'll go into that next week. We'll have more on that. But the Watchtower is losing people in a heartbeat. So we're glad to see that's happening. Many people are getting out. We got more to talk about tonight. We won't be able to get into it all. But I did want to make a couple other announcements here tonight on the 6 screens that I think is very interesting and should be announced. Let me just scroll down to it right now. And it has to do with Minimus. Maybe you folks know him. If you've been on JWN, that's a forum online, Jehovah's Witness discussion forum. It's been around for a long time. I'd say for at least 15, 20 years. And they've been reporting on, what goes on in the world of ex-witnesses. Well, one of their prolific posters, well, his name was Minimus. He goes by the name Minimus. Well, he died this week, actually 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. He died about 2 weeks ago. But I wanted to bring this up tonight because Minimus was a very good friend of mine. And I just wanted to say that this is one of the things that I really hate about the Watchtower. People have to go incognito, that they have to kind of hide under the radar screen. I knew Minimus personally. He lived up here in the Boston area, and he posted prolifically, like I say, on JWN. Never gave his real name, was always afraid that someone might find out about him. But he died. He was 65 years old, and I miss him. I knew him when he was just a young guy going to the Kingdom Hall that I went to at one time when I was a young guy myself. I knew Minimus when he grew up. I can remember seeing him in diapers, but he died. He was 65 years old. I don't know what the reason was why he died. It did not say in the obituary, but we're going to miss him. I'll have more information on Minimus, and I'm sure many of you guys listening in tonight, if you've been on JWN, You know who I'm talking about. Minimus, ex-witness, prolific poster. Minimus, we miss you. You're a wonderful man, and we're waving that flag of victory for you.
Rick, I have something to say about Minimus. You said he was a friend of yours?
Yes, he was, yeah.
Do you know Simon? I just asking because it was Simon's site. Do you know Simon as well, or you just knew Minimus?
Oh, yeah, no, I know Simon, too. He's been on the program here twice. Him and his wife were on here as well, yep.
Oh, yeah. Did you know that site, I don't know, because I know you used to be on it. I don't know why you weren't like there. You're gone, I'm gone. A few other people have been gone because Simon was the head. Minimus was his henchman. And it turned quite racist and right Republican over there. And they got rid of me. They got rid of a few of other people. Simon was the head guy. Minimus was his henchman. It turned into a Trump rally over there.
Well, no,
it turned into a Trump rally.
Well, I do have to say I agree with you, Shirley. I really, really do. Minimus was being called out on the carpet for getting too political, and the site was losing. In fact, the site is really tanking right now with Reddit.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And Simon, I mean, he let it go to hell in a handbasket. Let me just say that. We've had Simon and his wife on the 6 screens years ago, and we interviewed them, and they were one of the first to really expose the witnesses. And I enjoyed JWN, but they banned me. They didn't like me because of my Christian flavor. They thought that we were sensationalizing. They made fun of Johnny the Bethelite, but we were the first. I have to remind people, we were the first to have an actual Bethelite come in. No one believed him because, he was the first to do that, and everyone discredited him. And of course, I got discredited because of my Christian feelings. They don't like Christians on that site either.
I remember that when you weren't treated right over there for some reason, which to this day I don't understand. But I remember that. Yes, I remember that.
Oh yeah, no, I was not liked on there. One time I was, but they turned very ugly. They thought that we were sensationalizing. They thought that we were trying to prosper off of this sensational news, but we were the first. The 6 screens of the Watchtower. I'm not patting ourselves on the back here, but I have to tell you, we were the first to report the shocking stories that take place in the Watchtower, and people back then, they couldn't come to grips with it. They thought that we were making this up, but we never did. We weren't looking for ratings. We were looking for getting people to realize how heinous and evil the Watchtower was, Shirley. Yep.
Oh, of course. But the thing about it, these last few years, I don't know what got into Simon's head. He just turned totally, I don't like this one. I don't like that one. He banned me. I came in on 2 or 3 other names. He caught up to me. I just want to say to the people over there, I'm not done because I have a few more logins. Simon, you have not gotten rid of me. And all the people that are listening now, you're not rid of me. Because I know people are listening over there. He has turned very nasty, but I want to say Minimus, he's dead, but he was a henchman of Simon's. They were both very nasty, and Minimus had his head up. Minimus had his head up Simon's butt. That's the way it was. I don't know if you even follow them now since they got rid of you. He got rid of quite a few people. He's like Reese. It's either my way or the highway.
Yeah, well, we tried to get...
A few people he let remain that were leftists that didn't agree, but some who are outstanding talkers, like me and a few others, he got rid of us. He thinks he got rid of me, but he didn't.
Yeah.
But the others, they just don't even bother.
Do you go under a fictitious name, a pseudo name on there?
I have gone over several, and he got rid of the last 2 fictitious names I had. But I have a niece and somebody else, and I could use log-ons from their emails. I said I wasn't going to log on again until around the holidays because he think I was done. But he got rid of those. He got rid of my 2 or 3 fictitious ones. I just want to say to the folks who are going to report over there and say, oh, Shirley was on and yada, yada. I still just reported correctly people who are listening. Simon, if you're, I have 2 other log-ons, I'll say. You still haven't got rid of me. I don't like the way he treated me. He just cut me off because whatever I said is like that. He got rid of another guy, Flipper, Honest. Another guy, the name escapes me right now. He's like Reese, my way is the highway. I don't know what's going on in there the last 2 years.
Well, it's all changing, but well, thank you. Thank you for commenting. But I knew him. I knew Minimus. I can't give his name, but I knew him. I'm not even sure what he died from, to be quite frank. But he was a good friend of mine.
Was it COVID? You think it was COVID?
I don't know. It could be, but I've been checking around. I just found out today because I saw he wasn't posting for the last couple of weeks, and I just saw him about 16 days ago, and he died 2 days after I saw him. I would well, he was a friend of mine. I knew him. He was younger than me, but I remember he went to the same Kingdom Hall I used to go to years ago. He was my book study conductor at one time. He never gave his name out. He was always afraid of that. Maybe as things settle down here, maybe I'll get permission from the family to talk a little bit about him, who he was and where he came from. I think you might find that interesting, Shirley.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I know Simon is like Reese, and I know Minimus had his head of Simon's ass. That's all I can say. That's all I can honestly say.
All right. Well, no, yeah, I always like your straightforwardness. You just keep staying Shirley. I love it when you call in.
Yeah, that's the way it was. He cut me off and a few other people who used to be, from years ago. We lost more than 10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
He got rid of us. Something gets into Simon's head. I don't know what. And he just, has you in his crosshairs.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not the only one.
Well, there you go.
I'm not the only one.
Well, thank you for speaking up tonight. Thank you very much, Shirley. I really appreciate that. You're a good lady.
Okay, I just wanted to make that known because I know people over there are listening to this. And they hear my name or probably somebody probably posted, but I just wanted to say my honest feelings about that.
Well, there you go. Well, you
took a turn to the right.
You actually have you have the right to do that, and thank you for speaking up. I always enjoy your comments. Thank you, Shirley. Well, anyway,
you're welcome.
Brother Farron, it's Pixie, and I want to say I'm sorry for your loss. Even if the gentleman had controversy associated with him, as witnesses, we're not accustomed to really facing loss when it occurs, and someone that you've known that long, maybe some grief sites and learn about grief, because I want to say I'm sorry for your loss.
Well, thank you. No, well, thank you, Pixie. That did, in fact, I'll tell you what, it did bother me a little bit. I can remember him in diapers. I knew his mother, I knew his family, I knew his brother. And it was a loss. In fact, I tell you what, it was like a shock to my system when I found out today that he died actually 2 weeks ago. I didn't even know it. So, but thank you.
And I've done 3 hospices in the last few years, and I called a lady who was a former witness about a car that's on my property, and a mutual friend of ours that I was with at his time of death that I loved very much. And her message to me was laughter, and I don't know anything about what you're talking about. So with witnesses, we're not taught to deal with real grief.
No, we're not. No, we're not. But I did enjoy talking with him. Even though he left the Watchtower, he always had a feeling for God. He didn't become totally worldly. Well, Pixie, thank you. It's all.
Some of the grief online are very helpful for all of us.
Well, it's always good to hear from you. You really do good here on the 6 Screens. Always good to hear from Pixie. Thank you, Pixie.
Well, it's healing for me to have the community here on Saturday night. So rock on.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, we're gonna get on. That's Pixie. We're gonna be going to Heart to Heart with Dan and Angela. But before I do that, I just want to say I want to thank all those activists, whoever they might be, whether it's Lloyd Evans, whether it's Mike and Kimmy, whether it's JW Escape, whether it's all these people doing their activism. You're doing a good job. It's making a difference. We are all making a difference, exposing the Watchtower. Don't you guys ever give in, up or out. Keep waving the flag of victory. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We got to go to Heart. Sorry, friends, we get more people want to speak up, but we got to get going. We got guests coming in. Hello, Dan and Angie. You on there with us? Heart to Heart. So
hey, Rick, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We're going to get you guys right on here. Let me get in here and get this done. Boy, a lot of things happening here tonight. Lots of people coming through.
You guys had a great show tonight, Rick. Great show.
Well, thank you. I'm just looking to see where I can find you here on the video suite. Are you on the suite? Okay, there you are. Okay. All right, let me get you on. And we got the Heart to Heart program. We want to thank everyone for coming into JW World News tonight. Heart to Heart is next. Don't leave us now. Oh, we got a great story coming up. We have 2 people coming on that had near-death experience. Wow, I'm going to be sitting back here and sitting on the edge of my seat. I've been looking forward all day long to this program. Heart to Heart up next, right here on the 6 screens, Telenetwork. So let's get in. Let's get the program started. Let's get it going right now.
You're on the 6 screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now,